We have 4 million fewer people in the workforce today than we would have expected on pre-COVID trends. At the same time that we have this unnatural peacetime labor shortage. By a curious coincidence, the jump in the number of unfilled jobs was about 4 million in comparison with pre-COVID times. The reason that our workforce is down this much, is below trend by 4 million, is not because of the catastrophe. I mean, COVID was a catastrophe in the United States. We lost over 1 million people in the COVID crisis. Most of those people, the overwhelming majority of them, were beyond working age. There are some people in the United States who are suffering long COVID and who say that long COVID is the reason they're not in our workforce today. And there are hundreds of thousands of them, maybe 400,000. We're a big country. I mean, 400,000 is a lot of people, but it's not 4 million people, as I just mentioned. Most of the gap that I've just described is due to the new face of the flight from work in America. It's not just the prime age guys who aren't showing up in the workforce. We have a lot of people over the age of 55, men and women alike, who were in the workforce before the pandemic, who aren't now. We have prime age women as well, who aren't showing up. And I think you can't understand what's happened with the slump in manpower availability unless you look at the unintended consequences of our COVID relief policies. The government, not unreasonably, was afraid that the lockdown was going to bring a freeze up of the economic system, maybe even a second Great Depression. They opened up all the stops in monetary and fiscal policy to try to prevent this from happening. And in fact, maybe they couldn't tell this ahead of time, but they overshot the goal. Through borrowed public money transferred to households through a variety of programs, the U.S. Disposable income in 2020 and 2021 rose above trend. Americans never had as much money to spend as they had in 2020 and 2021. It's the only national economic crisis I'm aware of where personal disposable income and purchasing power actually rose. Americans had so much money in their pockets during the COVID emergency that they couldn't spend it all, or they didn't care to spend it all. Our personal private savings rate more than doubled in 2020 and 2021. People banked these transfers. And the nest egg just from the COVID transfers alone, apart from the wealth effects of zero interest rate policies, or just the transfer nest egg, was over $2.5 trillion US dollars, about $25,000 a household for persons at the bottom half of the income distribution and the wealth distribution. That was a lot of money, and I think this helps to explain why so many people in the United States have taken vacations from the workforce or maybe gone into a premature and perhaps unsustainable retirement.
So to put this really crudely, future Americans are paying for current Americans not to work.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's borrowed money.
Yes, public debt, as long as the debt does not get defaulted upon, and we haven't done that, as long as one assumes that the public debt is going to be paid eventually, it's a future tax on future workers, and in good measure on workers who haven't yet been born.